Hello, everyone. We are back today with a theme that we've had in the past. It's a very, very difficult one at times. And today I would love to conversate with Diana about this particular theme of loss, which we talked a lot about. We talked about it in December. We talked about it in the Entrepreneurship Summit conversation that I had with Diana. So before we jump into all the stuff that we can explore with each other, I wanted to say welcome to those who've been here before and welcome to those who are new to listening to us, sharing with her, with Aditya Lazari from Mindful Being. And here is with me today, Diana and Skita Lamborg, who is joining me with all these beautiful conversations. So I am very excited to have her here with me today. And usually we have a few more people, and that's just how it goes. And I think I have a feeling that this was on purpose, not by me, not by her, but by someone else deciding that today is a day for the two of us. And I want to start by saying that as we're talking about loss, that probably has been a word for many, especially in the past few years, is coming more to the forefront. It's usually something that we try to avoid, something that we try to not talk about. And with the sharing with her last year, I've really been connected with a lot of people who've had tremendous loss in their lives, loss of partners, loss of parents. And it became clear to me that it's something that is not talked about enough in public spaces. There are a lot of supporting groups out there that if you have this experience of a loved one or something that happened to you very close, that there are these supporting groups. And I want to create this space for you to look at loss in a different way. And today I want to invite freedom into this conversation. And I would like to explore this with Diana today, how freedom can show up in loss in different ways. Loss of a loved one, and also loss in things that are things, our house. Some maybe lost their house. It's health, our own health, maybe our independence. It could be just a shifting from being, a teenager, becoming a grown up, having a partner in crime, and then kids. There's a lot of losses happening. And I know Swati touched on this in our December conversation. That was one part of that she was sharing with us. So I bring her in here because I know that she wanted to be here today. So she has a lot of things going on. So let's just jump right in. And hello, Diana. Welcome.
Hello, thank you, Raditya. Happy to be here as always. It's always exciting because we never know where our conversations lead us. So, as we just chatted before, just before this live now, I talked about as you heard before, loss of loved ones that you mentioned, and I was thinking maybe I will not talk about it, but after talking with you, Raditya, I thought maybe I should. As you, the ones who've seen it know, my dear father passed away almost a year ago now, and my husband's grandparents and my uncle as well. So there have been a lot of loss in my life and in this last year, and I was trying to think how does that bring freedom into it, and then you already mentioned it so beautifully that it could be freedom in another way, not the freedom that we feel, well, they're gone, now I can do whatever I want to. Not that kind of freedom, because I didn't want to lose them in that sense, so because I love them. But the freedom to choose what we want to remember, as you said, and it was so beautiful. So I really, that's so true, because the bad things, the hurts that you get, when you're a child and a parent says something and, it stays, all these things that my dad did very few of them, to be honest. He was a really great dad, but they taught me so many things in life. And I came, even before his death, so I came to that realization that they were good lessons. So these parts I actually kind of released, but as you say, Raditya, remembering the good things, the good parts, and you mentioned that we can create something, you know, create something beautiful of it, and actually I did for, not for my dad yet, but for my husband's grandparents. And grandpa was buried just 1 week ago, and I did this beautiful slideshow with the pictures of their lives, and, you know, just put up a story of the things that I even didn't know about them. But it became such an interesting story because I found so many different photos of them when they were really young and I didn't know them. And, you know, just kind of these stories came up into my mind, and I was just wondering, I kind of built up a new story about their lives in my head. And it was just so beautiful to see them and see the whole life. For 90 years they lived, and 70 years together. And, you know, just, it was beautiful. So yes, you're right. It gave some other kind of freedom for me to choose to see them and to remember them as I want to, you know. So yeah, that was beautiful. So thank you.
You're most welcome, Diana. Most welcome. I mean, to me, it really is what I discovered in just the past day is that we are so focused on the things that we have or don't have anymore, right? And so what loss really signifies is uncertainty. Loss is showcasing that there is something unknown going to happen, meaning we have to become very creative in how to not just fill the void, but just to really experience, like, what am I missing? What is it that I crave for? What is it, instead of falling into what our next topic is in 2 weeks, addictive behaviors, right? Because what we tend to do is finding things on the outside. And what I really loved about our beginning conversation is that, and what brought this whole, you know, idea of seeing loss in a different way started because when you described, like, oh, you know, it's easier when you lose someone that you maybe are, you know, a partner with, and it might not even be losing them as part of losing them to life, but losing them in a relationship, right? I mean, that's just an easier way to maybe comprehend, and it's not so heavy on us. As I know that in our conversation in December, there were 2 people that did lose a partner and in for life. And so this is just to really showcase, like, there's a different kinds of losses. And obviously they have different significance to us. And yet how we experiencing internally is very, very similar. I don't know the details of what's really happening inside of our bodies, but just from picturing it and remembering it when I was a teenager, and you know, there was like this breakup happening with this boyfriend that you truly love, because when we were teenagers, we loved so deeply and so heavily that we truly loved, right? As we get older, our love becomes more careful. It becomes more safety. It doesn't become as free and loving, and, you know, because we are afraid of loss. We are afraid of uncertainty. So we want to hold on to the things that we have. So what you said was like, oh, you know, in a relationship, it might be slightly easier because you can recreate or regain a relationship. And what sparked in my head is that that is so true. It is true. But what does it say about us? What it says about us is that to get over something is by covering it up again. So let's say there is a loss of something, right? I pull a tree out. That tree is gone. There's a huge hole. That hole is there unless I cover it up with something new, and then it's not there anymore. Even though I know in my head it's been there and that's what there was, I related to it differently. So how can I have this hole and see this hole and fill it in as you go, but not at one plops and done, but one step at a time. You need 1 shovel of soil and you leave it there. How does that feel? You sit with this. And this is how I see freedom comes in loss. When we don't try to immediately cover it up, make sure this is not how it should feel, this is no good, this is feeling uncomfortable, now I'm lost, like I am lost, right? And really connect with that experience. Is there something you?
No, I just, when you were talking about putting this just one shovel on, and then I was just thinking, yes, it's so, I mean, I've done it myself, trying to put the whole ground on there and just leave it, because it's how I was dealing with pain and anger, for example, in most of my life. So these behaviors are coming, and I know I have some addictive behaviors as well, so that I replace and go hide myself and stuff like that. But when you were talking about this shovel and thing, that I was just thinking, you can fill that hole with something other, we're talking about replacement, but I mean there's something beautiful that can remind of that thing, but something different, like a beautiful blooming tree, because that other tree was very old and it wasn't feeling well, and it's like in my father's case, for example, the last 6 months he had a cancer and chemo, and he was very struggling, and we knew that there was no cure for it, but we always hope. And in the last week when he was in the hospital, it was really, really heavy to see him, because he was struggling and he wasn't even able to talk to us and say what he was feeling. And as we talked just before this talk, I was hoping that he will pass away quickly, so he can have his peace himself and not to suffer anymore. So in that way, it was some kind of freedom as well, just to let him go and just to know that he's not suffering anymore, because that life, the same was with my husband's grandfather, who I cared for a few months now here. He was in such a deep grief, and he was his body was so weak, and he needed help with everything, and and he was just not living his life anymore. So in that way, that loss, when he passed away, it gave kind of, if you believe in souls, it gave him his soul some kind of freedom, just to because the last months he was just suffering, and he wasn't even living, he was just trying to exist somehow, and it wasn't easy or fun for anyone, So in a way, yeah, there's freedom there as well, but then you can build something beautiful, as I said, beautiful memories, or just remember them, and as you said to me before, bring them into our everyday life. Remember good things about these people and what they brought to you, why you loved them, and try to integrate it in our lives, and try to live more like them. I'm getting emotional because it's so fresh, but for me, for example, the grandparents, they truly enjoyed life. They had so much fun in life. They just they had fun, and that thing I really want to learn more about and include in my life. And so my father as well, and he had so much curiosity and so much love for people, and these kind of traits, I want to bring it to me, so I can bring it to the people and to our children and to the world, and just share it with them, but in my own spin, in my own way, put my own spin on it. So yeah.
Diana, thank you for sharing so deeply and connecting to these amazing traits that have been impacted you. And that's another way we can see the freedom, is that we're carrying someone I know, she called it the torch of legacy. And so we are carrying on something from them. And if there is something like these traits that you're talking about that are beautiful, that are empowering, that are impactful, if we can embrace those and become part of that, then we will carry them with us in everything we do. And for those of us, both of us, who have children, we give them that same message. So that is also to showcase how important it is. One, which I always say, is always live as present as you can, as fully, and to not regret a single thing you do or say, and not to feel limited in the possibilities that are out there. To truly live as full as you can, because that's exactly what you are taking away from how they live their lives. If we had a chance to talk with them and see how that evolved for them, how they came to that moment, right? So that could be a question for us, like, how did that come to us? Now we know, like, for instance, for you, like, you were impacted by some people that really, you know, made a difference in how you see life. And I think that's the message that we can take away from that, and to really move in a direction that is supporting our soul, our heart, and our lives in a way that is so much fuller than any goods we can get and any people that we can have in our life, adding to our lives now, right? Because what we now just established is that instead of grieving in sadness, we can just grieve by acknowledging their loss of the human body and celebrate the immense legacy they lived for themselves to create a legacy for ourselves. Not because of other people, not because of our kids, but because we want to live that way. Right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I was just thinking about, you know, we talked about different kind of loss, and that's the loss I was thinking more about. For example, loss of your identity. That could be really tough as well. Like for me, it happened when I was a career woman. My identity of a career woman totally went went away. But the thing is, that was really clear. That gave me such a freedom as well when I actually finally accepted it. It gave me such a freedom to be whoever I wanted, and to live more truly to my, you know, my values and my heart instead. And I'm, as I said, due to my burnouts, that's why I couldn't be a career woman anymore, because I obviously chose my children instead, and family, since my energy was limited. So I had to choose, and I'm so happy that, but I had this opportunity, this freedom to choose, and it opened my eyes and gave me freedom to see life differently and prioritize differently. So it was, so I had the freedom to create and do other stuff and learn so many things, many other things that I didn't even know existed, and you know, and connect with you, Raditya, and do these talks. And if I would have been, you know, still stuck in my identity of a career woman at that time, I would never even see these beautiful possibilities in my life.
Yes, I mean, that's what community and being with people does. I mean, I just had to make a decision just yesterday, and it kind of was a certain loss in sense of like, when you put an end to something and something new is coming, I feel like sometimes we replace an end to something as loss. And I think I would love to recreate or just find another word that doesn't have this, because whenever I say loss, it has this negative connotation to it. And I kind of feel that there should be something else that is more uplifting, that is more opportunity seeking and opening and freedom, kind of like of experience. Because in society, words have meanings, words have power. And the moment we let that overcome things, the more it will affect us as a whole. So the more we are using words that have this connotation, I mean, I probably am not the only one. You were saying yes, right? So how can we create a new significance to something that ended and it's starting something new? And I think that's where reincarnation comes in, like re-beginning, rebirth, re-something. A re-something has to come here. Yes, Diana, go ahead.
I can't figure out some word, but you are spot on. Yeah, because loss sounds very, you know, heavy and very sad and unpleasant. But I mean, many people are saying instead now, you know, like new beginnings, like you say, rebirth and so on, this new beginnings instead. And I think it's more beautiful and it's more positive, and it's more true, because as you say, with every thing that ends, something other opens up, some other doors open up. And you know, and it's the same with friendship, or if even you lose something, or you lose a house, or you lose a job. I mean, I remember I was working in the office, and then there were many people laid off, for example, and it was not even once, as was almost every time those people came back to visit later on, they always said that most of them were actually grateful, because, you know, it was a chance for them to do a new beginning. Some of them needed this push, you know, to go out of their comfort zone and do something new, something different, something creative. So I mean, yes, and I mean, our life, as we always talk, it's a spiral, and it goes also in cycles, and I mean, but it goes on. So if we're stuck in grief and loss, then we don't live fully. We're stuck in old memories, stuck in old behaviors, and then we are not open to possibilities of life, and it's sad, because there is so much more. But it's hard, of course. I know it's hard. I've been stuck for many times, and in different periods, even this year, I've been stuck here and there. But when you know, yes, I agree with you. To have another word for it, just that would be so much more easy, I think, to see these kind of things in life as less heavy, and you know, more like new opportunities, new beginnings, to do something new, creative, something that we haven't done before, just to see the world in other ways. And it's liberating, and it's freeing, and it's fulfilling in many ways.
Yes, so true. I mean, if I just think about, if I didn't lose my job many years ago, which is about now 6 years ago, I wouldn't be sitting here doing these with you, right? And it caused me to rethink what else am I going to do? This is why I went to get a college degree, because that's just something good to have. I haven't needed to use it yet. Though the experience it gave me is more significant and important at this point than the piece of paper I received. And I think that's the message at the end of this, is that as much as we are goal oriented, looking outward to a certain goal for life, it's about the experience all over. Because if we would focus on a goal, the goal would be loss. The goal would be the end of life, right? And so the moment we let go of being goal chasers, but actually present chasers, we could be so much more fulfilled. Because just this morning, I was talking to a gentleman, and what I realized was we are maximizing. We want to maximize our time, maximum, right? I mean, my son's name is Max, so there you have it. It's about the max. And at the same time, what if we would minimize I mean, Min is not such a nice name. It's nicer to be called Max, so I'll stay with Max. And it's just to really see what can we do in small portions. What could we achieve in just doing one thing? What could we achieve? And not about achieving in status or in goals or whatever, but actually in presence, in a fulfillment of self-awareness. Because what we will learn is that it's uncomfortable. What we will learn is that I can't be sitting here for 5 minutes and just be quiet and not say anything. And these Sharing with Heart had taught us, because we give space for people to speak. And sometimes it takes 5 minutes. And we have millions of thoughts we want to say and share in that particular moment. And yet we're waiting to listen of what they're going to say, because we worry we lose that thought we had. And we want to hold on to something. No, I want to say this. I want to say this. This is so good. This is so good. But when we let go and say like, okay, I have this thought, let me let it go. If that thought was really as important, it will come back. There's this saying my mom always says, is like, if you can't remember it, it wasn't that important. So it's necessary to not feel the need to hold on to something, because maybe it really wasn't that important, because maybe what that person is still going to say is way more important that you can add something to than what they said in the first place. So with loss comes patience.
Wow, patience. That has not been my strong part of me. No. I think that's why I've been hard. But it's so funny that you said that, because I think that's one of the things that made me, you know, put this a lot of dirt on the hole and just, you know, put it down and just not think of this, because I just wanted to go further and go, you know, I was in a hurry in my life many years, and I sometimes still find myself, you know, in these behaviors. But I do agree with you, will all go and walk, you know, it's just like do and a lot of stuff, and sometimes it's really good to just stop and listen and just listen to yourself, not so much to others, just to yourself, to your inner voice, and just, you know, calm down. Because for me, I know I've been sometimes just feeling so lost about the career stuff still. And, you know, because I lost the career, you know, still it can come up to me, you know, this identity of the career woman. And when I, in my thoughts, feel that I should still be there because I have, you know, the brains to do that, and I am capable and blah, blah, blah. And compared to other people, then I notice in myself how tense and stressed I get. And I'm trying to fill that hole, you know, instead of, you know, just relaxing and actually enjoying the new me that I've become, you know, which I actually do enjoy. You know, it's not, I mean, it's like this morning, it was so sunny and beautiful weather, and my son went to school, and I just went out and did my qigong again, and just, you know, just being there in the moment and just breathing in nature and doing the qigong and feeling the kitten between my legs when I was doing that. That was amazing. That gave me so much joy and peace and freedom. And yes, yeah, loss is hard. I mean, it's hard. It's hard topic to talk about. But yes, it gives such a freedom. But I think we are people kind of wired to remember the bad stuff, you know, the fears and the bad stuff, because we want to fix it so we can learn from it, and that will not get there again. It's the same with loss. But I think just to rewire our brains, that we are free to choose how we think and how, you know, what thoughts we believe in, and how we act, and that to realize that our, you know, we can be whoever we want to and do whatever we want to. It's beautiful. And yeah, that's what came up to me now.
Yes. You know, I think the one thing that it is that because we're, as I said earlier, you know, as we are focusing on the things we know versus the things we don't know, it obviously is easier to then hurry up to the things we already know, because the things we don't know, it takes patience and time. We need to give it space to be created in a sense. Like, and you know, there's many different ways. Obviously, when you sit on your own in meditation, you know, thoughts will come up, and that sometimes is not necessarily your go-to. You were mentioning Qigong, where there's a little bit more of movement inside that can be supportive, right? And obviously it's for you to figure out that you can do with your body. That's my number one focus in anything, is that use the tools you already possess. Use the tools that you already in. Not about the outside, a person, a thing that makes you fill that missing piece. Make you be the missing piece, be filled. Or you should be the, you know, filling that missing piece. And just to feel that discomfort, be it grief, right? And so it really is interesting, because in my mind, I really believe that the power inside has nothing to do with where it's going, what's coming, where we've been. All there is right here, and that's changing on a consistent basis. You mentioned anger, you mentioned, you know, like these other uncomfortable things about patience, that we're not patient with it to see what's coming. And what's interesting is only because it's so uncomfortable in that moment that we want to get it over and done with. But if we sit in it just a little bit longer, the answer will come. It sounds crazy, but it does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true, and I know it, and I know, and all the things come in waves and they pass. That's what I know logically. But sometimes, you know, when you are really feeling this really uncomfortable feeling, you get back to your old behaviors, and that comes the awareness that we always talk about, the awareness and awareness of your body, awareness of what you are, how you're behaving, what you're doing, and of your breath. And I mean, I think even though it wasn't perfect, because nothing is perfect, you know, this year, these practices that we talked about really have helped me, because like me for 3 years ago, I wouldn't be handling this in such a way as I do now. And you are so right, there is no one who can fill those holes in our life. No one will ever. We can try to replace those holes with someone else in some cases, or some things, but they will never be really truly filled. The only ones who can fill these holes are ourselves, to just feel that we actually are enough, that we are worthy of, you know, amazing lives and future that no one of us know how it will turn out. And this uncertainty, I mean, I think that's the thing also. We also wired to feel safety and security first. So that's why I think we go to these old behaviors, because it feels safe. Because we people need safety to feel, you know, to feel safe and to be able to do stuff. But the problem is we can get stuck in that safety feeling mode, and then, you know, go to old behaviors because it feels familiar and safe. But actually we are doing ourselves a disservice. But if you feel inside of yourself that you are safe and you are enough and life is abundant, I do believe that it is easier to live like that, and easier to be more creative and, you know, do something. amazing. But yeah, it's not easy. No, it's not. And our society and people around us usually are behaving in the same manner. And it's, as we always say, it's a lifelong journey.
Yes. And I love how you mentioned impermanence, because everything is changing. As you noticed me sitting here, sun is moving. It doesn't stand still. It's not just in one place. And I think that's the key to it, is not to feel that we need to control life. Because that's what I hear a lot of times, is that the moment we are out of the control of something, or once we don't have the power of where this is going, we retreat or we get aggressive, right? And how about exploring with that situation that's going on and noticing, okay, like, where is my limitation? Explore your limitations. And then when you know, here is my limitation, for us, it's this little square here, right? Like, I go over here, so okay, I can't go further out than here, but why can't I, right? So maybe I'll put my hand here or something. I mean, I'm just being silly right now, but it's just really to signify that we are putting so many invisible boundaries on us that it hinders us to keep moving. Like you mentioned the stuckness earlier, right? All of a sudden we're stuck on this one thing that's not working. We're stuck on this one thing because it's not what it was. We're stuck on it, and it's like, oh my God, can I go back to this? Like, can you just put that noise away? Can this just stop? But the crazy thing is, the moment is changing. The moment is stopping. Nobody's going to recognize and say like, oh, look, it noticed it. It stopped. Did you hear the nothing? Did you hear that the noise stopped? Actually, this noise is still going on since this whole entire time. So this is just in the background. And I realized when I'm observing people that we put so many limitations. Like, I sit out here even when it's raining, right? I just put an umbrella up, put a tarp over it, have another umbrella so my computer stays safe, because my sun umbrella is not enough. Anyway, so there is a limitation that my umbrella is giving me, but I am stuck. I want to sit outside. At the same time, there is freedom in there because I am outside. I'm creating new ways of making this outside space be available to me, even if certain resources, like the weather, doesn't want to work with me. So maybe there's a stuckness happening in my end. I could just go inside. And at the same time, I can also just see it as possibilities on how much more creative can I become. I can challenge myself. How much more can I do in this moment? So this is pretty much my call to people who are watching this. When you get to a certain place where it's like, I can't do this, ask yourself, what can you do? And if you say, there's nothing I can do, then think again. Is there really nothing, like nothing you can do? Maybe in here, that maybe there's a little shift that you can do, a little bit more compassion, a little bit more openness, a little bit more curiosity. Yes, Diana, what are your last thoughts for this? Because this is my last word.
That was beautiful. Well, first of all, I'm really looking forward to see you in the winter outside. That will be really interesting, because I haven't seen you there. I have seen when it's raining and so on, but when it's cold and winter, I don't think I've seen you in outside. So that would be really interesting to see how you will manage to create this setting. And Yeah, I don't know what more to add. Actually, I'm just, today I'm just kind of taking everything in, what you say, and there's so much wisdom in it, and being more open and more compassionate. Yes, and as you say, there is always something you can do, and one of the things maybe that you can do, and that's the only thing that you can do, it's actually sit with those feelings and of those thoughts for a while, and then next moment will come and we will see what happens then. But maybe at that time, when you really feel that you can't do anything, maybe in that case it is like that, but then you can at least sit there and be with your breath and with your body and be with your feelings and be with your thoughts and just, observe. That's also something, and it can actually, as you said, those things can actually give you answers, as you said before, and I truly believe that. And patience, yes. That's something to remember. So thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Yes, certainly, patience. And when you sit with it, you notice how, like, that's what I discovered is like, there were moments where I pretended to be angry when I wasn't actually angry or upset. It's like, I'm just, because that's what I do usually. And so my body didn't even feel angry. So sometimes at some point you get to a point where it doesn't become what you want it to be anymore because you moved on. And you only will discover this when you pause and you wait and you notice how it's not there. And so, yeah, you were right. I probably won't be out here in the winter because it's going to be really difficult for my computer to be in the cold. It can deal with certain temperatures. I think, I don't know if it does well with winter temperatures. I'll find out. And probably if I would be on calls in like big jackets, it just would look very strange. I think that's one of the reasons. I could do it just for the sake of doing it. I'll do it. I'll take it on. I'll take that charge. If you don't mind me being in a hat and gloves and a jacket, I'll be out here.
You talked about this mind and our, that we limit ourselves. Yeah, that's it. I mean, who cares what you have on you? I mean, what you talked about when we wear wet hair and stuff like that, it doesn't really matter. No, it would be fun to see it, but you don't have to. I'm just joking.
I would love to. No, for me, it would be a joy. My husband, if he works from home, he sits right at that window and he just thinks this woman is crazy. And I say, yes, I am. Because this is what I want us to be, is the good crazy, the fun crazy, the just weird crazy, just being alive by laughing at things that are just not funny. Like you can't laugh even if it's not funny. I mean, I'll laugh all the time. I laugh at myself. I'm just like, the only person I know can do that is you. Well, no, that's not true. But anyway, it's just one way to see loss is just to see the great things of what we lost, celebrate them and have them in our memory. Because I know one person that I worked with once, she wanted to have Raining Man as her song when she is in her casket, whatever. When she dies, she wants people to play that song, and to celebrate and wear color. And I agree with her. It should be a celebration. In many countries, in Africa, they celebrate someone's loss and someone's end of life and a new beginning. And it should be a celebration, because the way we live it here with the dark clothes, with the black clothes, it just damns it. And we will remember that one particular moment and forget about the whole life they lived. And that's what I want people to recognize, is that it's not to celebrate that one particular moment that happened, but to celebrate the rest of it. The whole life, the 50, the 60, the 80 years they lived, is a whole bunch of life they had versus that one moment in their life. So let's focus on the expansiveness of that we already have. And when we look in a microscope within our bodies, there's a whole new universe going to discover that we don't even know we possess, that walks with us. So these are my last words. And I thank you so much, Diana, for, again, showing vulnerability with us, being truthfully honest, and just showcasing that life is not perfect, but it's full of life. So thank you for this. And
Thank
see you next time,
Yeah,
June
bye.
22nd, about